Hey everyone, Miko here with Behavior Analyst Supervisor. Thank you for joining us for our free Wednesday Zoom calls. Here you're watching on YouTube, but you could also join us on Wednesday. If you're interested in the link to these calls to join live, feel free to send us an email at info@behavioranalystsupervisor.com. You can also just check out our Instagram. We post questions every single day on Instagram. We also post the link to our free Zoom calls. Every Wednesday, we go through a different task list item area, such as A1. We'll talk a little bit about that task list item, and then we'll go through 3 mock exam questions relating to that task list area. We hope that this provides an opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about the task list and also dive deep into question dissection. We here at Behavior Analyst Supervisor really focus on providing explanations on why an answer is correct and why it's also incorrect. So we appreciate that you joined us. If you have any questions throughout the duration of this video, feel free to shoot us an email, hit that like and subscribe button for more information. Also, you can always leave a comment and we'll be sure to reach back out to you. Thanks again, and I'm Miko with Behavior Analyst Supervisor. You'll also be hearing from Amy and Kevin. Talk to you soon.
Hello, hello. Juan, you look like you're the only one that's not muted. Anyway, hi everybody. I know we're going to have a small group today, and that's cool. I'm Kevin, by the way, from Behavior Analyst Supervisor, for those of you who don't know. And we've got Amy, my wife and BCBA colleague, and Miko is out there as well. Yeah, there's Amy.
Hi, everybody.
And Miko's waving too.
Welcome to our first free
Cool.
Zoom.
All right, well, this is the first time we've done this. And like I said, it's going to be a small group today, but I hope that we can do it every Wednesday and you and all your friends can come and join.
Well, and I like, Kevin, that you are starting with the last slide first. I don't think you meant to do that.
Oh, no, I didn't. But thank you for pointing that out.
Sure, no
We're going to go
problem.
back up to the top.
There we are.
All right, and I got to minimize the screen. So I can't really see you guys. I'm sorry.
But we know you're there.
I know you're
And
there.
this is such a small group, you know, at any point, feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question, or Miko's going to run the chat today. You can always chat him too, but hopefully we'll all learn a little something today.
I hope so. And I need your participation, because what I want to try to do, you notice I put a topic up, right, for each one of these free Zooms. And please send us an email if you want to have a topic come up soon. Or if it doesn't come up soon, email us, and Miko and I and Amy are happy to jump into that with you by email or jump on a Zoom call or whatever. But for right now, I thought we'd talk about measurements, because it's a common thing, right? Where people go, when I'm taking the test, I don't know which measurement to use, whether it's a continuous one. I'd like to talk about most of those today, or a discontinuous one. I'm just not sure, given this situation, what do I do? And that's really where we want to get to. So looking at these task list items, C3, measuring occurrence, count, frequency, rate, percentage, and of course there's other measurements, but C9 as well, given the scenario, what do we choose? What are we going to use to measure this behavior, and which one's the best? So the way I would like you to look at this topic is to come with your entire toolbox. You've got all these measurements that you could use. So start looking at the scenario with those in mind and say, well, I could use that, but it's not so great because of this. Or I really can't use that because they don't give me what I need to use that. And you can start weeding out what are the good things and what are the bad measurements to use in that situation. So without further ado, let's get into that. If you could give me a behavior, so somebody unmute themselves and give me something we can measure.
Don't be shy. Throw it out there.
Hitting hand to assert. Sorry, actually, no, I don't like that one. Pulling up their shirt to their chest.
Okay. All right. Like exposing their chest, or just pulling up and showing their belly or whatever?
Pulling up and showing their belly.
Okay. I won't do it for you, but we can all picture it. Perfect. Thank you, Elizabeth, for speaking up. So if we have that behavior, if you're just pulling up your shirt, we can think about, I'm going to go back to these specific ones, if we could use count, frequency, rate, percentage. So if we wanted to measure the count and frequency are honestly the same to me. Those really If you're trying to make them different, you're working real hard, I think. But if you've got count or frequency, it's just how many times does this happen? That seems easy, but look for that in the question, right? How many times does this happen? And even if it has a time period, still you look for count or frequency if they say, for example, how many times did Kevin pull up his shirt last week? That's still a count. There is a time period in there, but all you're asked to do is count how many times it happened within that time period. If instead now we're looking at rate, it would sound more like how many times did Kevin do this per day last week? That's just an example, but you hear that per in there, or you see that they've averaged it somehow. I saw so many, shirt pull-ups in 1/2 hour. What's the rate? Well, I'm going to have to multiply by 2 to make that number into a per hour average. So always look for that math or the words per or average when you're looking at rate. So don't try to make it something else. And then percentage. So how do we make that? Anybody want to, I'll just ask you guys, anybody want to try to make shirt pull-ups into a percentage?
What was you said Kevin? Kevin pulled up his shirt. Kevin pulled up his shirt. 75% of a 3-hour session.
Okay, awesome. And that's what you conclude, right? Oh, he did it 75%. And if I give you, let's just say Kevin did it 75 times. It says that in the scenario. Kevin did this 75 times during the 2-hour class. How would you do percentage? I'm sorry, putting you on the spot. Tell me if that's not okay.
Definitely okay. I'm just thinking.
I'm wondering, would it be like over, because there's 60 minutes in an hour, would it be 120 minutes over the amount of over 77?
Okay, awesome. You're looking at rate. You've got a rate down.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yep.
never mind.
No, that's perfect. I like that.
Would it be the duration of that session or whatever time you're there observing that behavior?
So if we make it a 2-hour session, it doesn't really matter. I just made up the number 75 in a 2-hour session. Again, you could say the rate is 75 per 2 hours. So I cut that in half or divide by 2, and whatever that is, 75 divided by 2. Can't do math very well without a calculator. I was going to say 37-ish, right? That's the rate. And I'm messing with you guys a little bit. That's why percentage, I need you to see in a scenario that you are given the total opportunities.
Well, and that's just what I was going to add in is like, okay, given the fact that Kevin touched his shirt 10 times, he may have pulled up his shirt 8 times. So then we have 80% occurrence.
Right.
So given those opportunities, we can take it from there.
Right. You can't do a percentage. I know many of you are saying, well, with Amy's example, you need 30 or more. So good job. You were listening.
Yeah, we talked about that at Breakdown the Piece.
Right. So the definition, I mean, the reason you need to have 30 is so that it's sensitive enough or not too sensitive. But anyway, if your number is more than 30, then you can use a percentage, but only if you know what the total opportunities are. So with Kevin pulling his shirt up, if he does it 75 times, he could have done it 100 times or 1,000 times, I suppose. There isn't a way to get percentage until we're told how many opportunities. So you got to look for that with the behavior. How many opportunities do you have to answer my questions? Well, about as many as I ask you. And how many opportunities do you have to do to crumple up your math paper? Well, probably about as many opportunities as I give you. How many math papers do I give you? Or how many math problems do I give? If I give you 100 problems, now I can say, well, out of 100 problems, he did this many correct. So you're always got to have that for percent of occurrence or percentage. You have to know what the total is. So for the examples I give you, you can't really do it. You can't do it without that. So,
Kevin, we have a really, really great question in the chat that I think it would be good for you to talk about for everyone.
nice.
What is the difference between trials to criterion and percentage?
Love it.
Yes. Awesome. So I know this isn't in the, C3, but if we're talking about trials to criterion, really the way I put it, and Miko, Amy, you guys can jump in, but my wording for understanding that is how many times does it take for you or your client to get it right? That's what trials to a criterion is. I gave you so many opportunities and it took this long.
And I think the most important thing to remember with that is that you have to have a mastery criterion established. So for instance, I was a general ed teacher before I was a behavior analyst. And of course, I wanted my students to get 100% on their spelling tests. So that criteria is 100%. How many times did they have to take the test until they got to that 100%?
Mm-hmm.
So just always remember that for that, you have to start with a mastery criterion.
Right.
So then can you juxtapose that with?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if it's telling you that you got 80%, 90%, 100%, but you don't know a criterion, do you mean I have to get 100% and then I'm good? Or I need to get 100% 5 times in a row? I need to know what mastery means before I can have trials to criterion. So if something's telling you, well, Kevin, lifts his shirt 75% of the time, and we want to decrease that, we still need a mastery criterion in order to do trials, to say how many times did it take for Kevin to meet the goal. If they're just giving you a percentage, then that's all you know. You can't do trials to criteria. So you can that's what I mean by weeding out these things.
And Kevin, I know you could talk about this for like an hour alone, but I also
love the question,
yes,
so thank you.
I also know you have some questions ready to go.
I do have some formal ones. So just to finish this up, percentage gives you, if you have the total opportunities, or you could figure that is something you can get, then you can do a percentage. And that just tells you kind of the accuracy. Maybe I can even say fluency, which is trials to criterion as well. But percentage tells you out of how many opportunities, how many were right or wrong or whatever. And trials to criterion, how many trials or how many days or how many attempts did it take for you to get it right? All right. So thanks for the questions and the behaviors. So I already did that. Well, let's get into some actual questions. So I'll read it for you. And then you guys you can chat Miko or, we can talk about it.
Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself if you want to try to explain why you selected your answer. But Kevin, people in the past really like it when you read the question and the answers aloud. So let's see you do that.
I'll do it. And we just have 3, just so you know. Joy is a basketball fan. Notice the basketball. Nice touch, by the way. She notes that each team takes about 200 shots per game. Of those, about 1/3 are 3-point shots. What she wants to know is how many points are scored by each team, each game, in 3-point shots. What's the best measure for her to use? Oh, frequency, rate, percentage of occurrence, or fluency. Can't wait to hear your answers.
So Miko, have people chatted you some answers?
Yeah, we got a lot of answers coming in. It looks like we have a pretty even split between C and B. It looks like is where our split is.
Just like the real test, you get down to the best 2, right?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So this is what I love to do. I hope you all know that. And if you don't, this is it. I want you to not only answer, the one thing that you think is right, but to find out why you think the other ones are not. Why isn't it this answer, as opposed to just finding why you think it is. So let's go through it. Frequency. If I want to know frequency, I just need to count how many, not just of those shots went in, and then multiply by 3 basically, because they're 3-point shots. But that's what you're doing, is how many of those 3-point shots went in. Isn't that what we want to know? how many points are scored by each team in every game in 3-pointers. That's what we want to know. So it's basically, did they make 10 3-pointers? Did they make 8? Did they make 20? That would be amazing. But whatever that number is, you just want to count it. And that's how you know, that sounds like frequency. But let's check the other ones. So if it were rate, we would average something, right? We would want to know, hey, on average, what does each team score per game? But that isn't what's asked, right? So check yourself like that. Rate sounds good, but it's not quite that. They don't want an average. They want to know, count every game, for each team. So you got 2 numbers, 2 frequencies per game that you're going to look at. I want to count this team and that team. And then the next game, that team and that team. So it's not really rate. I hope that sort of makes sense. And then percentage of occurrence, if you want to see how many of the shots that they took, how many went in, now you can think about percentage. Given how many total opportunities to shoot, how many did they make? Now we're talking about percentage. But again, doesn't quite say that. So see how hard it is to throw it into an actual question, right? But those are the things I need you to look for, not just with measurement, but all these things. It's like, does it fit what I know about this concept? And if it doesn't quite, then which one does it? Anyway, so it's not quite percentage of occurrence. And then fluency, it doesn't sound like anybody answered that. It's a bit of a...
Well, I'm so grateful.
That's good. So I think the answer here is actually frequency. You just want to count how many 3-point shots. That's it. What was their score? Okay, so I'd love to do this, guys. I'm going to move to the next one, but you'll notice it's very similar. Okay, so we're back to Joy. She's this basketball fan again. She notes that each team takes about 200 shots a game. Of those, about 1/3 are 3-point shots. What she wants to know is how many points are scored by each team, each game in 3-point shots relative to 2-point ones. What's the best measure for her to use?
Got some answers coming in now. Looks like we're leaning towards C this time.
Okay.
You know the joke about C, right?
Yeah. If you don't know what it is, it's C.
You pick C.
When in doubt.
Yeah.
Yep. Don't actually do that, everyone. We're just joking.
Yeah, that's a joke. But okay, great. So we can talk about this. And maybe you guys are getting smart now and figuring this out. It's like, frequency. If I did that, what would that look like? I love that question. So if you try frequency, you can say, well, I would have, and I encourage you to do what I'm doing, just make stuff up. It's like, well, what if one is 20 points and the other one is 50 points? Okay, that's frequency basically, or how many times I made those baskets. But that doesn't tell me relative. I mean, I can see it. I can see one's 50 and one's 20, but it's not quite the best measure of what I want to know. I want to know these 3-pointers versus the 2-pointers. So I think you guys are onto something here. Rate, then I'd be how many, 3-point shots per minute or per game versus 2-point ones. It's per that time period or averaging the time period. And here it doesn't look like the time period's important. It's just measuring 3-point ones versus 2-point ones. So if that one caught you, that's the only difference there. So it doesn't really matter over what time period we're looking at. We just want to know, this versus that. So I agree with you. I think it's percentage of occurrence, because you could say, well, 60% of the shots were 3-point ones, or like I said, about 1/3 are usually 3-point. But you could measure that. You could say, well, 27% in this case were 3-point shots versus, whatever the opposite of 27 is, 73% were 2-point shots. So you could do that. And that's a good measure because we know the total.
And this is something we always encourage you guys to do is like, use ABA all the time in your everyday life. Look around for these examples in your home. Like, measure how often your significant other flips through channels or, I like to measure how often Kevin says, because he says, a lot. So I just think taking data on that would be so much fun. So just really think about the way that you would take data on all of these behaviors you see every single day of your life.
I'm going to say instead.
No.
Something. Okay.
I don't like it.
Have I said a bunch?
Not today so much.
Okay.
I haven't been taking data though.
All right. You guys keep track. Last one. Joy's a basketball fan. They take about 200 shots per game, she notices, and about 1/3 of those are 3 points. She wants to know this time, of all the shots taken, how many go in? What's the best measure for her to use?
We have a pretty good split again, but I love someone put hashtag how many. But I think we're leaning towards C for this one.
Okay. So we want to know, of all the shots taken, how many go in? All right. So you can count how many go in. I agree with that. That would be the frequency. I think there's a slightly better answer, but this is important. So if it's how many go in that you're paying attention to, that works. But let's hold on to that. B, rate, I don't think that works very well because, again, I don't see the time period there. I see you're taking this many shots and how many go in. It's not per minute, or you're not averaging per game. I mean, maybe you made that up, or you could see that would be something you could do, but that's not really what's being asked for. So that's important, answer the question that they give you, right? And I think C is the best answer. So hold on, don't argue yet. If you said A, you're right-ish. And I just think the best answer is percentage because, again, you're saying, I know that there's a total, so I know I can do percentage of occurrence. And if you couldn't, then absolutely frequency would be a better answer. But here for me, it's of all the shots that are taken, how many go in, it tells me both things. And I'm like, more is better, right? So instead of just counting how many went in, now I can count how many went in relative to how many were taken. So I can give you, 50% went in or 60% went in or whatever. So even that measure itself will tell you how many went in and how many there were and the percentage. So I think C is slightly a better answer or the best answer. And of course, that's all you're looking for on the test, right? It's like, you just need to know the best answer that they give you.
So before we move out of this question phase, does anybody have any comments or questions on the last three that we've just done?
Right.
Something that helps me a little bit with percent occurrence, especially, I know these all get a little bit tricky, but is when we think about free operant versus discrete, right? Free operant can happen any number of times. It's not bound by an SD, so to speak, right? Whereas percent occurrence, in order to use it, we need a set number or a limited number of opportunities. So it has to be discrete, right? I can only tie my shoe when it's untied. So percent occurrence could be a good measure to use. So that's what kind of helps me with that. And y'all who have been on our Tuesday, Thursday calls know that I am a believer in the little tricks. And so I remember the O in percent occurrence for opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Love it. Great
percentage of opportunities. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Any little hacks that we can all help you with. That's, anything you can do to pass this thing, right?
I have one quick question. Is percentage of occurrence and percentage of opportunity used, do they have the same meaning?
Yeah, AKA.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you.
And even just percentage, honestly, because that's what it is given so much, so many opportunities or the total that there is. Now I want to know some ratio of that. Whether it's usually accuracy, right? How many were right or how many were wrong, but we could think of other things. How many were blue or how many were yellow? Those kind of things.
So our next slide, Kevin says he's going to get through in 1 minute, and I'm actually timing him, everyone.
Okay.
So let's go.
Well, if you're not familiar yet with our website, I just wanted to say, this is what we offer. I mean, when you first come to the website, this is what you'll see, the breakdown the beasts, and we have one coming up Saturday. My God. Okay. Because we just did one last Saturday. That's why I'm saying them. We're going to do these twice a month, 4-hour sessions. It's actually, I think it's really fun. I mean, it's kind of like 4 hours goes past. I try to be quick. Amy is good at like keeping me going, but we get through about 45 questions because I really go in depth, like we just did, even a little bit more on why every single answer needs to be considered. So anyway, that's something that you might consider. And if you have the all you need guaranteed package, you know this and you get it for free anyway. But the other things that we offer are obviously a couple of full mock exams and mini mocks, our videos that go through the whole task list and ethical code. There's just so much stuff here, but all you need, obviously, you get everything and there's a guarantee. The more of a good thing package, you'll see those things I just mentioned, and you can buy things individually. But I do want to call your attention to this is we've got a calendar up. All these blue ones are the free meetings. They're just going to be every Wednesday like this. And these Miko, you can talk about the Thursday meetings that come with the all you need guaranteed package. But that's what we're trying to offer, a lot more live classes and opportunities for you guys to ask questions and get things clarified.
Not bad. 1:45.
Oh, okay.
For Kevin, that's really
Usually,
good.
if I say something's going to take me, 5 minutes, it takes at least twice that. Anyway, any questions? Because I think now that's exactly where we are. We're at the end here, but I'd love to hear if you have any questions.
So before we go into questions, Miko, do you mind just taking 2 minutes, a minute, whatever, and talking about your Tuesday, Thursday sessions?
Yeah, I would love to. So every Tuesday and Thursday, we go through the task list. So right now we're on like C11, I think is what we're on. And so we go through about 3 task list area items per session, and we do examples. And so what we'll do is we'll provide some real life examples of what that task list is and too. So it's a really great opportunity to just jump in, ask questions as y'all have them. We always leave about 10 minutes at the beginning and 10 minutes at the end to go over any tricky mock exam questions that y'all get or whatever. It's just a great time to kind of come and learn more about the task list. As soon as we finish, we'll start back at A and we'll continue to cycle through it.
And just so everyone knows, that is a part of that all you need guaranteed package. So if you are unfamiliar with our packages, I highly recommend spending a little bit of time on our website and seeing if there's something that's right for you.